So I've been working on an album for a little while now. I've been doing this in the background while I've been making these videos and releasing all the other music that I've been releasing, and I'm happy to say that the album is finished and the first single of this album will be coming out today. This is actually the first song on the album. This is the first song that I wrote that really gave me a vision for what the album was going to be. So I'm super excited to release this out into the world, and I thought I'd just jump into Full Studio and give you guys a little breakdown of the track. So let's jump into this. Before I dive into how I wrote this track, just like to point out that this is a collaboration. I wrote my section of the track and I had an idea of exactly who I wanted to send this to. So I reached out to my good friend Project AER and very thankfully agreed to collaborate on the track and be on the album with me. So yeah, let's break down both parts and talk about this song. So I'd say this is the first track on the album, and it opens up with just this really simple piano part, which is what I wrote here. So you've just got these piano chords. So yeah, it's just two chords, slightly different intonation on that final chord. But yeah, just a C major 7 going into an A suspended chord, and then back into the C major. And then that time the A suspended has a double octave on the A note. From there, I just took the root notes of the scale, which is the G major, and added this sort of background walking piano. Just to give it a little bit of movement. From there, I have this vital swell. This is just a really simple swell, just on the A note. And that just works as a transition. And that's pretty much all I had for the intro. When those chords hit a second time, I then introduced some more elements. We're not going into a full drop here, but just building and building and building. So first thing we've got here is a Labs drone, just using the Azure piano and copying that C major chord. I then introduced this guitar that is mimicking the walking piano, but playing the opposite notes and a bit slower. And then finally introduced a hi-hat sound. Just really building the soundscape of this track. And then for the next section, I didn't want to add too much melodic elements because I knew that I wanted to send this off to Project AER. So I just added a bass, and that's a simple sine wave from Vital. And then beefed up the drums. We got a kick and 2 snares. And then another hi-hat. From there, I just added some nice like transition sounds at the start of the drop. Then these 2 transitions in the middle of the hook section. And that is pretty much all I wrote for my part. I arranged it into like the arrangement for a track, and then I pinged this over to Project AER, and he sent back essentially a fully completed track, arranged and everything. So just load up the file with all of Project AER's stems, and then we'll jump into breaking down his section too. So here is the full arranged, mixed, mastered, everything track, and we'll just break down some of the parts that Project AER added that I think really make this track what it is. So it still starts with the piano chords and the piano arp, except now the track opens with the drone sound and the swell. So the chords don't actually come in for the first 2 bars. So you get this kind of swell, just the piano arp, all kind of rising into the track. And then, as you can hear straight away, there is this fluty lead, as he's called it. And this is the first melody that we're getting in the track. So that first is just an introduction, and then we wait almost 4 bars for the next one. Tons of space for all of the other elements. There's our hi-hat as well. And then at that point where we get our drop, there is a delayed snare in there also. We've got a nice ride that comes in. Really lovely job with the drums. So let's just listen to how the drums sound. Making sure everything's got its own space, that delay on the snare, which is just super nice. And then that fluty lead, we get the real kind of core of the melody here in this first drop. And then it wouldn't be a Project AER track without some beautiful guitar work. So we've got these 5 different guitar sections. We've got a guitar lead that we'll talk about in a minute. The guitar pluck here, that is the guitar that I added in my section. Then we get these guitar arps. Just adding loads of reverb and shimmer and kind of background ambience to the track. So if we listen to the whole track but take those guitar arps out, like, it still sounds nice, it still sounds really clean, but there's something missing in that kind of mid to high register. And now if we add those back in, they just really take the track to a whole new level. And then after a few bars of that kind of main hook section, the guitar pluck comes back in along with this guitar lead that Project AER recorded, and it is just stunning. And that's kind of the end of the first hook. Really not an overly complicated song. We've got our drums, we've got a couple of guitar layers. The pianos are really, really simple, just 2 piano chords and then a piano art. It all comes together to just be this really lovely sounding, gorgeous soundscape. And then for a little bridge here, Project AER added some really nice synthy chords just to kind of break up the track. That really nice warbling effect in the background. And then we essentially go into what I like to call like the rebuild of the track. So we've had our break, and you don't just want to go straight into it, at least not in this track. It's not what it's calling for. So we get this kind of really nice rebuild with the piano chords and the guitar pluck with some nice ambience in the background. Hear those guitars as well, twinkling away. And then we go back into the drop. When Project AER sent me back the track, there initially in these 8 bars wasn't any main melody. It was just like carrying on the break. It had all the bass and all the drums come back in, and it does sound really lovely, but I felt like it was really calling for that guitar lead to just come back in one more time. So this is how it sounds without. It sounds lovely. It's really, really nice. But I just kind of chopped and picked the parts from this guitar lead that I thought would work really nicely here, and I moved them back in. And then for the outro, we kind of mimic what the intro did with that flute. And then the track breaks down from there. Just super, super nice. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to show you for now. If you do want to listen to the track, there is a link in the description of this video. Head down, check it out, it would mean the world to me. Like I said, this is the first track of the album and it's a really special song to me. And shout out to Project AER for jumping on and helping bring it to life in exactly the way that I wanted to. So this is the first track off the album. There will be another single coming out in a couple of weeks, and then the full album drops on August 16th. So keep your eyes out. I'll be breaking down more tracks from the album in the near future. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Go stream it everywhere. Peace out.